I think I should say it because it's World Hijab Day and all that. I feel like I'm doing my white person voice when I talk to the camera. So yesterday was World Hijab Day, and on RTE there was like this segment on like girls in like secondary school, and then they were like talking about their experience with hijab and how they've never experienced like Islamophobia or anything like that, and people are like, you know, accepting and all that kind of stuff. And so I went and I read the article, and like I was in the gym and I saw the like thing on RTE, and then I was like, why are they doing something on hijabs? And then I saw it on Instagram that it was World Hijab, and I was like, oh shoot, I forgot. I thought it was like the middle of February, but turns out it's like the start of February. I started like thinking about like my experience in secondary school, and mine wasn't like that. They were all in like Catholic schools as well, and I went to a Catholic school as well, and it was like very diverse, like not just Christians and Muslims. There were like people from loads of different religions. The problem was with the management, they were really like picky about the hijab. They had so many like issues with it. At first it was like, oh, it's kind of dangerous to wear it in like science and in like home ec and stuff, and then like it was okay, we'll tuck it in, and like everyone tucked it in, and we had to tuck it in, and that was fine. And then we had to like keep it tucked into like our uniform, so we'd have like our hijab inside our uniform, and then we'd have it like our shirt, and we'd have like everything was, and it was really weird. It was an odd rule. It wasn't like, it didn't have a reason for it, and they're like, oh, it's because we need to see our uniform, and like they had like little rules like that. And then we had to have like a blue hijab, which is fine, you know, we have our uniform. And like we were always saying like, okay, we're bringing it for like the student council, and we brought it, like we did it officially and like according to the rules to bring up this, okay, can we change the hijab color to like a black because it's more accessible, and you know, it's almost impossible to find a navy hijab. And then they didn't do anything about it, and we're like, okay, they're really strict about the uniform, they want the uniform to be the same. The next year or something, they changed they're like, oh, you can have navy tights or black tights, because it's like more accessible. After that I was like, oh, okay, so you can change the tights but you can't change the hijab. I thought we had to have the specific color because our uniform was like so specific, and so that like, oh, that really annoyed me. There was one time that we were all called, and they were like on the intercom, like at the start of the year, like one of like the first tutor times, and they were like, the girls who wear hijab come to the canteen or something. And so we went to the canteen, and they were like, you guys need to wear your hijab like this, or you need to tuck it in, you need to have a certain color, or you're gonna have to take it off. And we were like, excuse me, that's something that you cannot tell a hijabi, because it's a really touchy subject. It's something that a lot of people use as like an Islamophobic thing, to be like, oh, we'll take off your hijab, but you can't wear a hijab. Like even now in France, it's like, you have to take off your hijab if you want to go to work, if you want to play sports now, if you want to bring your child on a trip, if you want to go swimming, you know, you have to take off your hijab. And so it's not a thing that you should tell people. And like, oh my god, the first years were petrified. They were like, oh my god, what's going on? When they were all called, and like on their first ever week, and they were told, you have to do this or we'll take off your hijab. And I was like, for me, at that point I was like, I was like 18 or something, and earlier on I didn't notice these kind of things, but like now, but then I was like more older and stuff, I was like, this isn't normal. And even the teachers were like, that was a really bad thing that they did. And what annoyed me so much was one of the prefects, she was like a Muslim hijabi, and she was like, yeah, you guys need to do this. And I was like, what kind of brainwashed nonsense did you come across? Why would you like stand up there and like go along with it? We weren't allowed to have navy hijabs. We weren't allowed to have any little like patterns on it. It had to be specifically navy. There was so many different like specific things. And to say, okay, the rules are rules, they're really strict with rules, okay, but the thing was that people would come with like dyed hair that wasn't natural dyed hair or natural colors. They wouldn't say anything. But as soon as someone who was black came in with extensions in their hair that was like a different kind of color, even if it was a natural color but it was like a different color, they were called aside and like, you have to take out your extensions, you have to take out that hair, because that is against the rules. We'd have hijabs that had like little sparkly things, but they were still navy. They had little sparkly things or little designs on them. No, you can have that. You had to have plain. But then everyone else was allowed to mess around with their hair, mess around with like, you know, the rings and jewelry and all that, even though there were specific rules. And the thing was, I was trying to follow the rules. I was trying to like see if everything was being fair, and I noticed all these things. The thing is, I would go bring to the student council. I joined the student council. I was like, I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna do something about this. Be a prefect. Maybe that will help. Nothing helps. They don't really care about that kind of stuff. And in the RTE thing, it was like the school had like a diversity and inclusion like officer person, liaison teacher, and their job was to do all that kind of stuff. We never had anything like that, and my sisters still go to that school, and it's still the same. The school is changing. Can you not notice that there's all these diverse student body? Like, there's loads of different people from loads of different countries, loads of different places, loads of different religions, loads of different races. Can you not see that you guys need to change as well? Like, we're not saying you need to change your Catholic ethos. You can still be a Catholic school, you can still do all that kind of stuff, but why go after this kind of thing? And it wasn't just like hijab and stuff like that. I'm just saying that because it was World Hijab Day yesterday. It's very hard to be really nitpicky with RCSI because I had like such a bad experience in secondary school and sometimes in primary school in terms of like diversity and inclusion and all that, and RCSI is way more inclusive than the experiences that I've had. They have a freaking diversity and inclusion like team group thing. They do like survey things. If you're in RCSI, I think there's like the Islamic Society sent out a survey thing where you can go and tell like your opinions on disposable hijabs, like RCSI putting disposable hijabs in their like operating rooms for their like for their teaching colleges. And the thing is, like, right now there's not anything there to accommodate for hijabi like students or doctors or, you know, workers there. If they want to go in the operating room, what would be like helpful is if everyone who is like a Muslim or hijabi wants to voice their opinion, or they're in RCSI and they want to see this, take part in the like survey and stuff that the ISOC have. And for the survey for the diversity and inclusion and all that, I don't think it's on right now. I think it's kind of over by the time I upload this, but if it's still like open, voice your opinions on that. And like also like France has been in the news a lot by what they're doing. Yeah, I think they're just trying to get the vote from conservative people, and that's why they're just adding this mess. It's not like they actually care about hijabi women. Like, the people who suffer the most, the people who are like oppressed the most, who are impacted the most, who are worse off at the end of this hijab ban or all these different hijab bans, are Muslim women. They're the people who are most affected. They're the people who lose out on education, on jobs, on all this like empowerment and feminism that France have, because of like their extreme secularism. If they really cared about women, they wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be banning women, essentially banning women from work, banning women from schools and universities, banning women from having fun in the beach. Like, if you look at extremist groups and see the things that women don't have access to, and then look at like French society and what they're blocking Muslim women from having, like, they're not any better. I just saw a post on like Vogue France. There was this, I don't know, someone who's dating Kanye West wore like this little headscarf. So Vogue France posted it, and it said, the caption was, "Yes to the headscarf." And it was like, people went crazy in the comments. It was like, oh, okay, so when a white woman wears a headscarf, it's in fashion, it's fine, it's on fleek, it's amazing. But then when a Muslim POC or POC Muslim woman or something wears a hijab,
it's terrorism,
it's oppression, it's terrorism, it's all this nonsense. They have a ban on niqabs. Like, they have a ban on niqabs, and you can't wear niqabs. You get fined if you wear it in public.
Like masks.
And then they made a mask mandate, which essentially covers the exact same thing. And they didn't see the irony of this. They didn't change the rules or anything. You still can get banned. You still get fined for wearing a niqab, even now in COVID, which is so stupid. Like, oh my goodness, I love French culture. I love the language. I love it. Like, what are there's like this chef that I watched on like Netflix, and he's French, and the accent makes it so cool. Love it. And also, like, a load of African countries speak French thanks to colonization. Yes, it is thanks to colonization. France colonized all these countries, gave them their language.
Thanks.
Do you know why they gave them the language? They were like, okay, if you can speak the language, if you like assimilate to French culture, blah 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 blah, you can get citizenship. I love the way like French countries colonized other countries and forced them to have their culture. Like, it was literally, you have no rights, you can't vote until you become a French citizen. To become a French citizen, assimilate to the culture, get the language, all that kind of stuff, right? And now, they're like, hijabs are terrible because it's not French culture. You get what I mean? I don't like French, and it's not, you can't say this is just the government. Who voted the government in?
The people.
Who agrees with that? Like, if the government, like, if enough of people don't want this, if the majority of people don't want it, it wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, look at Ireland. Ireland is a country that has progressed so quickly because the people themselves are like open, and that's why things happen real quick. Like, people are more accepting and open and all that kind of stuff because people want that. If people don't want change, it's not gonna happen. Anyways, that was my rant about Hijab Day. I love the hijab. I wear it all the time. I am a hijabi. It's part of me. Imagine one day I come into the lectures without my hijab. Sometimes though, I look at the mirror, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Imagine. I look at the mirror sometimes and I look at myself, I'm like, imagine.
If I decide, I'm not gonna wear hijab, I'm probably gonna be wearing hoodies all the time.
No, but like,
I love hoodies. And
yeah,
like, either way,
you're gonna cover hijab. Sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, oh my goodness, look at my hair. It's so amazing today. Look at this style. And then I'm like, now I have to like put it under hijab. And that's not bad. I can have that feelings. But the fact that I'm putting on the hijab is like, even though I sometimes want to take it off, I'm doing it for Allah, and I'm gonna get rewarded for that.
For me, it's kind of like that, but also it's like, no one deserves to see me without my hijab. Like, I look so nice without my hijab. I should keep it for myself.
No, sometimes I think I am depriving the world.
Yeah.
I'm depriving the world. I'm just being vain, but I love myself sometimes.
No, I think you should love yourself all the time.
For me, hijab is really important for me. I can't take it off. I don't want to take it off. Hopefully RCSI will make it so I never have to take it off while I'm in RCSI. World Hijab Day is meant to celebrate women who wear the hijab. For me, it brought up a lot of like thoughts on the hijab. It's always like a conflict there. It's never like, let the woman do whatever they want to do. Hopefully the world will change and be more accepting.
€30 for a navy.
That's what I was saying. I said at the start, I was saying like how black hijabs are more affordable and more accessible, right? And they would not listen to us. You don't wear no hijab, okay? How are you supposed to know? And then after they had the audacity to change other parts of the uniform and not change parts of the hijab. They changed the whole PE uniform. I think it was.
Tuck it in as well.
I get it for science and for home ec. Like, you took it into your lab coat.
Yeah.
You took it in to be safe from like, there's no flames, but I don't know in home ec. But you know what I mean? I get it for safety. I'm in geography. What is the rocks gonna get like stuck in my hijab? She was saying how like, oh, it trails on the floor. It trails all over the floor. I'm like, what floor? What hijab is trailing all over the floor?
Through the corridor, she's like, yeah, it's gonna hurt somebody. It's gonna, like, it's not gonna wrap around somebody's throat and kill them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna happen.
One time there was this student came to our like school. She was like, I'm gonna do an experiment, because in her school they wear like tracksuits. They wear whatever they want. It's not a uniform. So she did like this experiment where she spent the whole day in her tracksuit, which is a no-no. You have to wear your uniform and not your tracksuit. And so she spent the whole day in her tracksuit. And by the way, she's a white girl. And she wore her tracksuit the whole day. Nobody said a thing. Nothing happened. And then another student who was not white decided, okay, I'm gonna do it as well. I'm gonna wear my tracksuit and see what happens. The minute she was seen by like higher level like management people, like, you know, principal, every principal, as soon as she was seen, it was like, excuse me, what are you wearing? Why aren't you wearing your uniform? Blah blah blah. Same thing happened when we went on our geography trip. We're on a group of people all going on a geography trip, and then she picked out all the Muslim girls and she's like, why are you wearing trousers? Why aren't you wearing your uniform? It was only the Muslim girls that were picked down, and they were like, you. It was so weird. We're all in a group. Why did she only pick on the Muslim girls? Why aren't you wearing your uniform? It was so obvious. Another time, I was really modest and wore like long skirts. I didn't wear like, because people would wear skirts that would go over the knee. So I wore a skirt that was really long. I wear like badges because I'm, you know, student council and all that kind of stuff. And then she picked me out. She's like, your skirt is too long. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, oh, she started picking on different things. I said, that's because it's like modesty and that's what I feel comfortable with. And I was so respectful. I was so damn respectful. Like with her, like I know I was really, really respectful. All the teachers knew I was really, really respectful and all that. She was like, oh, if you don't fix your uniform to make my skirt shorter. I was like, I thought this was a Catholic school. I thought we were supposed to be like a religious school. I need to make my skirt shorter. And she's like, if you don't do that, then next year we won't allow you guys to wear the hijab and it will be your fault. I was like, excuse me, are you threatening me? And I feel like that's discriminatory. And I was so respectful. And she's like, come here. And she brought me to the library and we sat down and she was telling me how respectful I was and how I'd be the reason that all these Muslim girls won't wear the hijabs because I was the one who was not wearing it properly and I wasn't representing people properly, and she'll take away my badge. Another time, fourth years do the fourth year play, right? And there was a group of girls who were all wearing Annie shirts. It was like Annie, fourth year production, blah, 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 blah. Fourth years are doing the play. So you know these are fourth years doing Annie play. Like this person was a principal for years and years and years. She knows what fourth years do. She picked out the one hijabi girl out of all of them and goes, why are you wearing that? Why are you wearing your tracksuit? Why aren't you wearing a uniform? And she's like, because we're doing the play. And I saw that and I was like, excuse me, what is up with that? The thing was also, if you brought it to the student council, if you brought it to the prefect, and I know because I was a prefect and I was a student council, and students would come to me all the time complaining about this, and I felt so frustrated. Every time you'd bring it to them, they would shut it down as if nothing happened. They would act like it wasn't happening. It was like, okay, so we're facing Islamophobia and racism here. Woo, nothing's happening. Let's move on to the next topic. This isn't fair. Woo, let's move on to the next topic.
They did a survey, brought all the Muslim people to the Muslim and black people to the thing. Have you experienced racism before? Everyone had like an actual like plan to write stuff that they've experienced in the school, and literally I feel like they just threw away the papers and didn't care. Like I
feel like they were like, there's too much work.
Yeah, this is too much racism. So
it's too much racism. Like the most racism and Islamophobia that I've ever faced in my life was when I went to that secondary school. That's so weird to say. That secondary school.
We still go there.
And I'm not saying that's like all of Ireland or like that's a reflection of Irish society. But I was just like, this has been going on for years. Where's your second year, third year, fifth year?
Oh, you didn't do
5th year, 6th year. 6 years. I went there for 6 years. 6 years. And every single one of those years, I've experienced something.
I'm the only black person in my year, and there's only 2 Muslim people in our year. Out of all the students, the Spanish students, the people from different countries, the black student, and the Muslim student, and the other Muslim student, yeah? We would be the only person picked on by one of the teachers, the year head. We're still picked on by her.
If you're going to be working with a group of people, to ask those group of people, what is it that you need? What are the things that you need for us to support you? Like, it's really clear, the rules. And like, once I started like listing out the rules, then they were like, okay, you can, it's fine. Because they didn't want to be called out on like all the things that they were doing. They've already said, if you don't do this, we're gonna bring you home. You're gonna take off your hijab. You're threatening someone, and then you're like, okay, you can come to me with your problems when you've already threatened me and you already told me.
And then they guilt trip you saying, oh, it's so
gaslighting you.
Everyone can get.
They're already like gaslighting you.
Yeah.
It was like the first time we had inspections, the prefects wrote a whole letter to the inspector and all that. But then there was like something the inspectors didn't do, something that was according to the rules, and so they had to scrap all of that whole inspection. And so when the next inspection came, it was like we were prefects and we wrote this whole letter, we all signed it, we were gonna give it to the inspectors, and we were just waiting for that. The inspector was like, yeah, sure, tell me, I'm fine, I have 15 minutes, let's go and sit down and talk about it. And it was amazing. But as soon as that happened, COVID came. I don't know what happened after that. We're leaving, but hopefully we'll be able to do one thing. We're hoping to do that one thing with like our roles as prefect. I don't even want to start. We could do a podcast. This could be like my podcast. This in itself is its own video. I don't want to talk too much about all the bad stuff about my school. My school is great. It's just some things that, like, you know, stick with you.
And the teachers couldn't say anything, the new teachers, I mean.
Yeah, because they weren't permanent.
Yeah, they
didn't have a permanent contract yet. I would say something, but I don't have a permanent contract. I'm helping you, but don't tell anyone that I'm helping you, because I won't get a permanent contract.
I don't know why anybody would like to work at that school. Like
It's
a good
because
school.
it's like a good school, good facilities. It has some money. My point is, happy World Hijab Day. Being a hijabi is very hard. There's more good things with the hijab than bad things. So anyways, that was my rant about Hijab Day. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe and do all the nice things. Follow me on Instagram. I'm sort of active on my stories. I'm always there. I think that's it. So bye. I hope you enjoyed. That sounds so weird.
Bye bye. Whoa, that was close. I know more. And a pad.
World Hijab.
No, and then after you do a rainbow.
Oh, we should save these for bloopers.